Hey YouTube, David here from Live Forever Die Trying, and today I'm coming at you with my January TBR. TBRs in general are something I started pretty recently. I think November, Nonfiction November was the very first one I did. And for about the year and a half I've been on YouTube so far, I always kind of saw TBRs, if I'm being completely honest, as kind of a bullshit way just to create additional videos. Like, why talk about the books that you're going to read anyways that you haven't read yet? Like, what value are you providing for the audience? And since I started making TBRs, in part for Nonfiction November, I was on a little bit of a hiatus, and I came back with that video. And to be completely transparent, that was kind of the reason I did that, just to be part of Nonfiction November and create that video. I was surprised how many of y'all actually like those type of videos, which I guess shouldn't be surprising since you see them everywhere on YouTube, but nonetheless. Specifically, what I found personally valuable was giving my expectations for the books and then circling back to actually figure out how the reading experience differed from those. During my time reading the books that I did the TBRs on, I found myself reading more closely. And maybe it's part of that thing, when you're in middle school, people tell you, specifically teachers tell you, think of questions as you go along. So maybe setting those expectations in the TBR is a good way to kind of trigger that. You set up what you expect to see, and then you read, see how it differs, and you get a more full experience. So I don't know if that's the exact reason why I'm doing these, but I am finding myself growing on the TBR concept as a whole. But that's enough on the video format alone. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you typically skip TBRs because you expect to see a full review later, or if just the more content the merrier is your perspective on it. But I'm genuinely curious to hear those thoughts. If you watched my 2021 reading goals video, you know that a quarter of my reading this year I want to do self-improvement, self-optimization, and you'll see a few of those categories reflected in this TBR. I also have one book here that I'll be talking about that I plan on doing the Past the Cover with Raymond again. If you didn't see the last episode, you can watch that here. But without further ado, let's get started. And to go off the Past the Cover, we are going to be reading Utopia for Realists by, oh god, I'm going to butcher this name. I should know it. Rutger Bregman? I'm sorry if I butchered that. So let me read the back cover for you real quick. A majority of Americans report that they would prefer an extra 2 weeks of vacation over 2 weeks of salary. Nearly half of all American jobs are at risk of being usurped by machines. Many of us work long hours at jobs we don't like in order to pay for things we don't really need. Rutger Bregman points out that life doesn't have to be this way. In some places, it isn't. The Revolutionary Guide focuses on 3 core concepts: a universal basic income, a 15-hour work week, and open borders across the globe, and explores each of them with lively anecdote studies and success stories. From a Canadian city that once eradicated poverty to Richard Nixon's near implementation of universal basic income, Bregman takes us on a journey throughout history and beyond traditional left-right divides. He points us to a wholly attainable new social order, his book a bracing reminder that every progressive milestone, be it the end of slavery or the beginning of democracies, was once considered a utopian fantasy. So this book looks absolutely amazing. I love the cover design of it, I love the 3 key concepts, and I love that on the back cover he's saying he's going to take a science-based approach. And when reading about utopias, whether it's utopian fiction or actual progressive politics, it's always interesting to see if it's just a pipe dream. If the person speaking about it says, we need to get to this because this is the right thing to do, or if it's an actually economically or societally sound idea. Universal basic income, for example, we talked about in a lot of the cover episode. And it seems like the economics can work out on that plan. However, open borders, can you have open borders while maintaining a universal basic income? I've often heard the quote that you can either have strong social systems and strong borders, or you can have weak social systems, government kickbacks, and weak borders. And I've never heard a good strategy in which those two can coexist. So I'm very interested to read this author's take on this book. It's purely for that idea. I did note that Steven Pinker, who wrote Enlightenment Now, is on the cover here with a quote. This is bold thinking, fresh ideas, and lively prose. If you remember, I covered his book Enlightenment Now a while back, and he's very optimistic about the future, talks about kind of like how the arc of human history bends towards justice, how we're eradicating world hunger, and basically child mortality is going down, and all the good things that come out of the world. So I'm curious if this recommendation means it's going to be a pretty sound, logic-based book versus strictly idealistic. Really looking forward to this one. For the next 3 books, I have a book haul, which you can maybe peek at behind here for each one of these topics. We have 3 major themes going on. The first theme for the book haul we're going to be covering soon is going to be meta-learning, or learning how to learn better. So if I'm reading about like bodily sciences or longevity, how do I retain more of the information that I'm reading? Making sure I'm not just getting a glossary look and then forgetting it within the next week. So the first book I have to hopefully shore up some of these shortcomings is Ultralearning by Scott Young. Master hard skills, outsmart the competition, and accelerate your career. Now, one thing I have to say about a lot of self-help books is they, in my opinion, regurgitate a lot of information. Where I think this author is different is Scott Young originally got kind of internet famous for his MIT challenge, where basically, as a self-taught student, he took the online syllabus for the MIT computer science program, took all 4 years, and then broke it down into each class per week and completed the whole 4-year program in a 1-year time frame. Now, he did cut certain fluff out of the program, but he did complete all of the assignments, and he did complete all of the assessments and tests and whatnot. So if he could put together a science-based program to help him retain that information, study effectively, manage his time and all of that, I'm sure there's something I can pick up out of this book. Just to read the inner cover quickly, he says, "The challenge of learning new skills is that you think you already know how best to learn, as you did as a student. So you return to old routines, old ways of solving problems. To counter that, Ultralearning offers powerful strategies to break out those mental ruts, introduce new training methods, and help you push along through higher levels of retention. Scott Young incorporates the latest research about the most effective learning methods and stories of ultralearners like himself, among them Benjamin Franklin, Nobel laureate Richard Feynman, and a host of others, such as little-known modern polymath Nigel Richards, who won the French World Scrabble Championship without knowing French." So I sincerely hope that this isn't just another like regurgitated self-help book, but actually introduce novel science-based strategies on how to learn better. The second major theme you might see in 2021 is going to be diet and nutrition. After all, they are the building blocks that we build ourselves out of. So if we can eat a little bit better, we can live a little bit longer, be a little bit more happier. I'm all for that. I've never been big on diet in the past, other than just vaguely trying to eat plant-based and vaguely trying to keep out processed food. But hopefully in 2021, we can be a little bit better on that. So the first book I have is The Longevity Diet by Valter Longo, who is a director of the Longevity Institute at USC and founder of CreateCures.org. It is subtitled Discover the New Science Behind Stem Cell Activation, Regeneration to Slow Aging, Fight Disease, and Optimize Weight. So the inner cover of this particular book says, "Can what you eat determine how long and how well you live? Based on comprehensive scientific studies, both in the labs and in the clinic, and among some of the world's most long-lived populations, the answer is yes. And that can be achieved by the longevity diet, which is surprisingly easy to follow." I just want to take a quick break from reading this to say a lot of books that suggest their own diets, specifically with their own websites, I'm naturally weary of, because I've seen a lot of these in the past that are subscription-based services. I don't know that about this particular book, but that's just an aside that I'll be looking out for once I read more. He goes on to say, "The combination of Dr. Valter Longo's 25 years of research and clinical studies on aging, nutrition, and disease, the longevity diet uses science to cut through the confusion generated by popular diet books and proposes an everyday diet based on 5 pillars of longevity, combined with a scientifically engineered, plant-based, fasting-mimicking diet." Okay, so this looks like it's going to be good science, which I shouldn't be surprised because I've heard his name referenced by a lot of other people in the longevity field. But fast mimicking diets are supposed to be one of the most surefire ways to clear out senescent cells, Basically, from what I understand, the concept is that when your body goes into a brief mode of starvation, it starts consuming itself, particularly starting with the most inefficiently run cells and then recycling what's inside of those cells to build other healthier cells in the hopes that creating a healthier you is going to be more energy efficient and more able to hunt down prey. But I digress. Dr. Longo designed the FMD after identifying key genes activated by proteins and sugars that regulate aging. Since he talks about sugars here, I'm going to wonder if he's going to touch on ketosis. Again, I digress. A series of subsequent remarkable discoveries indicate that periodic fasting can activate stem cells and promote protection, regeneration, and rejuvenation in multiple organs, significantly reducing risk factors for diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's and heart disease. Dr. Longo's daily nutrition plan, together with his unique periodic fast mimicking techniques, yield impressive results, low in proteins and sugar, and rich in healthy fats and plant-based foods. Again, healthy fats, maybe ketosis, we'll see. The longevity diet is proven to help you, and then it goes down a list. But yeah, really looking forward to this as well. On a similar note, the third category is going to be how to optimize fitness. I already do rock climbing, I do a little bit of slacklining, I do a little surfing. I don't like running, but I've done running in the past. We'll see what of these I need to implement, hopefully in a minimum effective dose to become more fit, which in turn would help me become more mentally sharp, I hope. But the first thing we have here in this category is Body by Science. You saw me quickly flash this in my 2021 reading goal video as well. But this is a research-based program for strength training, bodybuilding, and complete fitness in 12 minutes a week. The 12 minutes a week part always kind of irks me because it seems unattainable, and usually that, if it sounds too good to be true, is it? But anyways, it's written by Doug McGuff, MD, and John Little. The back of the book says, Body by Science challenges everything you thought you knew about exercise and takes you deep inside your body's inner workings, all the way down to the single cell, to explain what science knows about the role of exercise in human health. With the medical diagrams and step-by-step photos, exercise scientist Doug McGuff and weight training pioneer John Little present a revolutionary new workout protocol that fully leverages positive effects of high-intensity, low-frequency weight training, while avoiding the negative effects of traditional aerobic-centric exercise. So it sounds like this is going to be a lot of, weightlifting. He talks about the resistance-based training as opposed to aerobic, so maybe it's against running. But flipping through this book briefly, we do have a lot of diagrams. And just singling out some pages, I see a lot of mentions about DNA activation, genetics, and different physiological pathways. So flipping through this briefly, I do sincerely believe it's going to be a science-based book. I would love to hear your opinions if you've heard about this author in general, because I am a little wary. Let me know if you're the only, or let me know if I'm the only one that feels like this, but I have an inherent trust for hardcover books. A well-produced book gives me a signal of quality. And when I get one of these flimsy paperbacks, which part of that's on me for ordering the least expensive copy, but I don't want to say I lose respect for it, but I'm more wary going into the book. And I don't know what that is, but it's just something I notice. So let me know if you are the same about this. Other than those 4 hardcover books, I'm also looking to finish Ageless and Future Proof this month, hopefully. Those are books I've started in December, and they are ARCs that I've received. You can see them in my December TBR. As always, the links for these will be in the description below. If you have any comments on these, I would love to hear, especially the longevity diet and Body by Science, because I want to know if these truly are science-based or if they're a lot of hype or branded repackaging of stuff that already exists. I've seen this in other books where they take somewhat well-known concepts, rebrand it to a niche audience, and then resell it. In addition, if you have any other diet, learning, self-help, or exercise books, I would love to hear your opinions on those, because that's not something that I've seen on BookTube, so I don't have a lot of recommendations that I was able to choose from to make these picks. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. Until next time, peace.